Hey YouTube, Kier Twig here, bringing you all an update to my UA Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile for post Phantom Rage. With the release of the latest Yu-Gi-Oh set, we were actually given support for a deck that definitely did surprise me because it's been a while since we've had any support for the Ultra Athlete deck, and that is with the new support and just overall consistency for the UA deck as a whole. It definitely did surprise me. Like I said, it's been a while since we've had any UA support. I think, Cross Souls might have been the last time I remember us getting any support for this deck. And we also, went down some other different paths with the FA monsters being the race car drivers. And the new support in this pack does work for both decks, but I wanted to focus on the actual UA deck first for the new support we received from the booster pack. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the UA monsters, this is definitely going to be an interesting lineup because a lot of the UA monsters can be run as one-ofs just for their easy search power, but I run 3 of the new UA player manager for one of the ones you definitely want to run a full playset of. With this card, if you normal or special summon a UA monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summon, you can activate one of these effects. You can target one card on the field and destroy it, or you can negate the effects of face-up monsters on the field until the end of this turn, except for UA monsters, and you can only use each effect of UA player manager once per turn. So you have destruction power with this card, but you also have the option to basically shut down all of your opponent's monsters, leaving you room for you to attack into your opponent's monsters with your UA monsters. So it's definitely a scary combo for sure, being able to rely on this card just for an easy special summon at that, because most of the time you have to return other UAs to your hand to special summon different ones from your hand. UA player manager can just be easily special summoned down to the field, being a true powerhouse in of itself, basically, and then giving you that option for whichever effect you wanted to use, whether it be destroy a card, depending on the type of deck you go up against, or just stop all your opponent's monsters and swing over them with your own UA monsters. For the other 3 ofs, I also run 3 UA Libero Spiker. You can special summon this card from your hand by returning 1 UA monster you control to the hand, except for UA Libero Spiker. And with this card, also, you can only special summon this card once per turn, this way. And during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can shuffle 1 level 5 or higher UA monster from your hand into the deck. And if you do special summon 1 UA monster from your deck with a different name, then return this card to the hand. You can only use the effect of UA Libero Spiker once per turn. So with this card, you have the option to search out the individual one of UA monsters that I run in the deck, just because it's more situational for those ones. You just have overall consistency with player manager and also Libero Spiker being able to set up your plays that much easier. With this card being a level 4, it's that much easier to special summon this card onto the field also, and its attack and defense stats are quite interesting for sure, being the 1800 attack and 1800 defense. Overall well balanced for sure, but then giving you that consistency to work well with player manager and all your other different cards in the deck. For some of the lower numbers for the UA monsters, I run 2 UA Perfect Ace. You can special summon this card from your hand by returning a UA monster you control the hand, which is shared by a good amount of the different UA monsters we run. And after, you can only special summon UA Perfect Ace once per turn this way, and once per turn during your opponent's turn. When a card or effect is activated, you can discard 1 card and negate the activation. If you do, destroy it, and this is a quick effect. So it's more control power with Perfect Ace on the field, being able to stop your opponent's cards when a card or effect is activated. Once you have Perfect Ace set up on the field, it will definitely be difficult for your opponent to get over this card with any of their other resources they may have wanted to use on the field. But once again, being searchable with other cards like Libero Spiker makes it all the easier for just special summon consistency, so you don't really need that many high numbers for those cards either. I also run the 1 UA midfielder. I considered running 2 copies of this and dropping the copies of Perfect Ace down to 1, but I wanted to keep 2 Perfect Ace, and also you can mix around some of the other numbers for the one-ofs if you did want to run 1 additional UA midfielder. But with this one, you can special summon this card from your hand by returning a UA monster, and you once again can only do this once per turn. And with this card, during either player's turn, you can target 1 other UA monster you control, return that face-up card to the hand, special summon 1 UA from your hand with a different name from that monster, and you can only use this effect of midfielder once per turn. But being just the fact that it can swap back and forth between other monsters is greatly consistent for some of your power plays with your different UA monsters. Even if your opponent made a target one, you can return it to the hand, calling out a different UA monster to the field, so your opponent will find it very difficult to even just touch your UA monsters. For some of the other, higher level UA monsters, I run the 1 UA Dreadnought Dunker. These are all basically power play monsters with attack boosting, restriction when attacking. So you really only need the 1-ups for them because, like I said, they're easy to special summon out onto the field. So the 1 Dreadnought Dunker, the 1 Rival Rebounder, the 1 Mighty Slugger, definitely one of my favorite arts for sure of all the original UAs, and the 1 UA Goalkeeper being more of the defensive plays for all these. But like I said, you really only need the 1-ups for these. Being able to search them out that much easier makes it a true setup for all of your other UA monsters that we're already running in the deck. And that is it for the monsters. I wanted to also stick to as pure of a build as I could because the UA monsters all run very, very well together for that setup. But another important card are the spells. The first one being one of the 2 field spells we're running, and that is UA Stadium. If a UA monster is normal summoned to your side of the field, you can add 1 UA monster from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, if a UA monster is special summoned to your side of the field, all monsters you control currently gain 500 attacks. So just needing that normal summon for your UA monster, depending on which one you summon out, can give you that search power for another UA monster. That's why, it's just also beneficial for some of the 1-ups we run, just being able to search out that particular one you need and then summon it out onto the field by returning another UA monster on the field to the hand. And then the power boost that this card can gain for your different UA monsters is just an added bonus as well. For the new field spell, I want to run 3 UA Hyper Stadium. I only have the 2 so far, but I do have 1 Demise of the Land in the deck as well. This card's always treated as an FA card, so an additional thing to remember when we do go over the FA deck one day. When this card is activated, you can add 1 UA or FA monster from your deck to your hand, or add 1 UA Stadium from your graveyard to your hand, and you can reveal 1 field spell in your hand and pay 1,000 life, and you can normal summon 1 UA monster during your main phase this turn in addition to your normal summon, and you can only gain this effect once per turn. So you have search power, but it's also that normal summon setup for life points. So with it, you have search for whether you need recycling your original UA Stadium after you do the normal summon to activate that card, or just searching and summoning out an additional UA monster to the field, setting up more than 2 for the combo play, because then you can use the normal summon for 2 and then also return them to summon out other UA monsters of higher levels with their own bounce effects, having these boss monsters set up that much easier with this field spell. I also run 3 UA Signing Deal. You special summon 1 UA monster from your deck, but its effects are negated. Also cannot be used as Synchro or XYZ material for a summon. Then you lose life points equal to the level of that monster you special summon times 300. You can only activate 1 Signing Deal per turn, but with the requirements for your other UA monsters just to be able to return a UA monster on the field to the hand to special summon it, it doesn't really matter if you negate the effects of that 1 UA monster, because, like I said, the monster you'll be summoning from the hand is the one you need to worry about, not the monster that is on the field. So it's just an easy way to get a card out on the field to use, and then obviously you have to worry about the burn damage, but usually it's the amount that you can take because you're not spending life for much else in the deck aside from the new UA Hyper Stadium. I also run 2 UA Locker Room. It's a quick play spell, but great for recycle power, being able to recycle cards from your graveyard and add to your hand, and then gain life points, which is a great add just for regaining life after burning damage with a lot of the other different ones, or just being able to recycle UA monsters from your hand back into the deck and draw cards equal to the shuffled cards. So if you have ones that you just don't need in your hand, Locker Room is just a good, like I said, swap out card to use for those ones. And for some of the 1-ups, I run 1 UA Turnover Tactics and 1 UA Power Jersey. Power Jersey is more of a power card to equip on to some of your monsters and just boost their attack points for, heavy hit damage, depending on which one you equip it onto. And with UA Turnover Tactics, just with the different names, you shuffle as many onto the field and special summon more from your deck with different names. So you're swapping out different UA monsters for basically different players that could be stronger for the combo you want to go for, but both situational and both just have the search option depending on which one you may want to go into. For some of the other 1-ups, I run 1 Reinforcements of the Army for the search power for the level 4 warrior UA monsters we run. 1 Terraforming. We run plenty of field spells, so this one's definitely very vital in the deck. And 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. You have a lot of attack plays with your monster lineup, so being able to clear your opponent's back row with Harpy's Feather Duster definitely does come in handy. For some of the other 3-ofs in the deck, I normally don't run it, but I am a big fan of Pot of Extravagance in the deck. If you don't have Extravagance, you could try other cards. You can try putting in Call by the Grave, Foolish Burial, and also Upstart Goblin to to fill in these spots. You could try Desires, but there's just too many one-of techs in this deck that I don't really like banishing the cards. Extravagance, you don't really run anything in the extra deck that you wouldn't, without weakening this deck if you were to banish it. It's just that additional draw power that, makes the deck play that much more consistently for the boost. So if you have the Extravagance, I definitely do recommend playing them. If not, I gave the cards you could put in Call by the Grave, Foolish Burial, and Upstart Goblin for additional slots until you get the Pot of Extravagance. But for more setup, I also run 3 Foolish Burial goods. Not only can you set UA Stadium up in the graveyard to use with Hyper Stadium to add back to your hand, but there are also some trap cards which you can set up in the graveyard using Foolish Burial goods, making it all the better for sure. So it's a definite 3 of in the deck. Just having that setup power alone is enough for the different spell and traps we run. And just getting search power by sending Penalty Box, the one trapped, altogether for the field spell also. But that is it for the spells. We'll now move on to the traps. Speaking of traps, running 3 UA Penalty Box. The go-to trap that'll banish your opponent's monsters when they try and attack into a UA monster. So with it, it'll be banished for 2 turns, and then it'll return to the field after the 2 turns. But also from the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 UA spell from your deck to your hand. So not only can you add the field spell with Penalty Box, you can search any of the one-ofs that we're running, the Recycle Power, the original field spell. That's why it's really, really strong to use the Foolish Burial goods to set up these penalty boxes in the graveyard, just giving you the additional search also. And I also run the 1 UA Man of the Match. It's always treated as an FA card, so once again, can't wait to just mix around and test different cards for the playstyle in the deck for sure. But after damage calc, if your UA or FA monster destroy an opponent's monster by battle, or when a UA monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, special summon any number of UA monsters with different names from your hand and or graveyard in defense position. So it just lines up more players on the field for you to return to the hand and special summon out different UA monsters already from your hand back onto the field to use. It's a one-of tech that I like to go for especially, but Penalty Box is usually my preferred one on the field, banishing those monsters because I can set up the resources just fine with the cards in my hand, but this card definitely does come in handy just for that one-of slot. And lastly, for the main deck, I run the 1 Metaverse, more field spell search with this card, being able to search out whichever one I preferably need, normally going for the Hyper Stadium since it can search out any of the monsters I run also. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. Like I said, with the extra deck, with the Extravagance banished targets, I ran a pretty generic build, but still ones that could definitely vitally help with some of these specific plays. So I run the 1 Isolde, being a warrior search if you can go for the link summon, especially just being able to summon out your UA player manager with just an easy special summon with this card, summoning this and then searching out for another UA, which you won't be able to, summon, but still great to have for the next turn. I also run 1 Barricade Board blocker, the field spell recycle with this one especially will come in handy with all the different field spells we run in this deck. 1 Asa the Earth Charmer and 1 Mrs. Radiant, since we are running a good number of Earth attribute monsters, being the majority of them in the main deck. 1 Nightmare Phoenix and 1 Nightmare Cerberus. Also 1 Security Dragon and 1 Underclock Taker for a good amount of the Link 2s we run. Like I said, it's a pretty generic extra deck lineup, along with the 1 IP Masquerena to finish off the Link 2s. For the Link 3s, I run the 1 Nightmare Unicorn, the 1 Topologic Trisbana, the 1 Decode Talker, and the 1 Triple Burst Dragon. And for the Link 4s, I run the 1 Access Code Talker and the 1 Borolo Dragon. Like I said, once again, all Link monsters, you can try with some of the leveled monsters that are the same level for maybe some Xyz play, but I saw myself going into the Link monsters more and more. Even with the new level 4 Libero Spiker, you can try for rank 4 Xyz plays, but most of the time you want to return them to your hand to summon out the bigger UAs. It's the main part of the deck, and you don't really want to rely on, extra deck plays when you can, because once again, they'll be used for the banish for your pot of Extravagance as well. But with a lot of your big plays being just that setup, having the option for your Libero Spiker when you have the midfielder set up, also being able to search these cards out with your field spell play, make it all the better for sure, because you'll have that additional normal summon with the play I spoke of before, being able to normal summon both, and then also have the return power if you were to have the additional UA monsters in your hand, being able to return to the hand for the, stronger play setup, giving you the discard cost for Perfect Ace also for when your opponent would activate a card, and then depending on what other UA monster you have on the field for the attack play to go into your opponent altogether. And if you have Manager in your hand, it just makes for that much easier of a setup because it's an additional special summon, so more damage to deal against your opponent also. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Definitely been enjoying updating all the different decks from the Phantom Rage booster pack. Got plenty more to do, so definitely look forward to them in the upcoming future as well. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.